Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Safiatou Modisek, and I am a graduate student at the GSIS department of Iwa Women's University. I am majoring in international relations, and I'm also part of the organizing committee of this year Model United Nations Strategic Framework Conference. I will be today's session moderator, and for those of you watching us, welcome. I would like to introduce our presenter. Her name is Shirin Cristina Elmi Flores. She's currently an undergraduate student at Iwa Women's University at the Department of International Studies here in Korea. And also she's studying law back at the University of UNAM in Mexico. She's under the organizing committee also of the Model UNSF and is part of the administration team and will be serving as the vice chair during this conference. Welcome to you, Shirin. Can you tell us a bit more about the Model UNSF and also your role, please?
Thank you, Love. Yes, well, Model UNSF is a multinational youth lead conference and it's organized by PS Corps. Its goal is pretty much to raise awareness on the issues that surround North Korea in terms of their sustainable developmental goals. And as you mentioned, I'm part right now of the organization committee. To be specific, I'm part of the admin team, which I would say is pretty much in charge of building what I would call the structure of the conference. This means setting the flow and creating all the documents behind it. And as you mentioned, I will also be serving as the vice chair during the actual conference. Yes.
Thank you very much, Shirin. As you are aware, recently North Korea has reported on its implementation on the SDGs to the international community through their voluntary national review. If some say that North Korea is a VNR, voluntary national review, is remarkable in some ways because it signals North Korea's willingness to implement the global SDGs, such as some goals toward development and the implementation. Other people will say that this review showed that North Korea has strategically altered the goals with its own national development goals and systemic characteristics. So some other people also will say that North Korea's participation in the international community is also very meaningful. So the international community seems to be very actively seeking cooperative measures that complement North Korea's pursuit of this very SDGs goal. So my question to you is what are the main points of this voluntary national review that will be addressed in the Model UNSF?
I see. Well, as you mentioned, there's a lot of debate regarding how trustable the VNR is, but in regards of its main points in the conference, I believe it would be the strategic focuses that they have present. Let's remember that the strategic framework is a sort of plan for the 4 most vulnerable areas within the DPRK. And the voluntary national review is, as the name establishes, the progress per se that has been done by the country. And in our conference, it's exactly divided between those 4 strategic priorities. And we expect our delegates to be able to critically address the progress established by the DPRK in the VNR and to create a creative approach for new solutions and areas of weakness that are still present, not only in the VNR, but that can be seen through other media outlets too.
Thank you very much. Can you also shed more light on the choice of the VNR as the basis for the conference this year?
Okay, well, the final goal of the conference is to create what we call a draft proposal that would essentially work as our strategic framework for 2022. And the strategic framework from the get-go aims to target, again, areas of weakness present in the DPRK in accordance to their SDGs. And in order for us to essentially construct this document, we do need to have an insight of what kind of changes or progress has been done in the DPRK, and we do it through their VNR. This is not to say that it is completely trustable and our main source of information, So I wouldn't really say it's the basis of the conference. Yet again, it is a voluntary review, which does establish their willingness to cooperate, but also shows that the content of the same could be altered per se. So we do actively encourage our delegates to look forward for more information from other sources to pretty much overcome this limitation that is present in the VNR.
Thank you very much, Shirin. You mentioned the strategic priority that are part of the voluntary national review, and today we will talk about the strategic priority 1, focusing on food and nutrition security. So one of the main strategic focus mentioned in the VNR is specifically the SP1, which is linked to the SDG 2, which advocates to end hunger, achieve food security, and also improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. So also part of the SP1, also part of the VNR, the SP1 has mentioned the efforts of the UN Zero Hunger Challenge, which has 5 elements, which are to ensure equitable access to nutritious food and stunting in children, maintain a sustainable food system, also increase a smallholder productivity, and put an end to the loss of to the loss and waste of the food. So I will be delighted if you could shed some light on the strategic priority 1 and maybe add more elements you find also worth mentioning.
Okay. Well, actually, it is the first strategic priority in the framework for a reason. This goal is pretty much the pillar of the UN's work in the country. Within the country, the UN has 2 main challenges. It aims to, 1, and address the immediate and underlying causes of malnutrition, if I'm not wrong, and the second one, the humanitarian consequences of malnutrition in the DPRK. And the work of the United Nations within the country can be seen in projects such as the Government National Strategy and Action Plan for the control of undernutrition that, if I'm not wrong, started in 2014 and ended in 2018, which especially focuses on pregnant women as well as children under 5 years old. And the challenges aim to mainly address the goals of the SDG number 2 that you mentioned. However, it can be seen through their VNR that such challenges are still to be addressed. And I think that is also worth mentioning that the strategic priority also aims to target goal number 9, which focuses on orienting the national economy into a scientific-based and modernized infrastructure. And I think that this goal is often forgotten when we talk about the strategic priority number 1, as it does not directly include the word food and nutrition in it. But I do believe that it's important to understand that the work of a country needs to be seen as a system. So to illustrate it better, when we talk about food availability, we should also be concerned about its, transportation, for example. We need to ask ourselves questions such as why? Why X and X, no? I don't know, why is rice not reaching a specific population? Is there not enough of it? Or is it because it has no way of reaching out the population itself? Or perhaps there's not enough roads. That's what we mean by looking at it as a system. And here's where goal number 9 takes place. So for that reason, it would be crucial for this strategic priority, and any really, to carefully review the goals and targets it includes in the strategic framework, and to keep that in mind during the conference so that we don't forget to target these specific challenges.
Thank you very much, Shirin. What is also your analysis of the priorities and achievements of the DPRK on this issue?
Oh. Well, this is not to say that the DPRK does not put enough effort on addressing the issue, but as of now, I think around half of the population have access to less than minimum 4 out of 9 food groups, which yet again, accentuates our concerns in regards to both the causes and effects of malnutrition. And even outside of what is established in its VNR, we can see through media outlets that the food availability has been significantly reduced. Mainly right now, given the pandemic, because countries are, well, closing their borders, North Korea, China, and even due to their own actions, like the DPRK facing sanctions due to its nuclear development, for example. And considering that the DPRK is highly vulnerable to climate variations and other factors, like not having enough infrastructure to deal with the pandemic, I think it is safe to say that there's still a lot of work to be done in regards to the matter.
That's right. Which possible strategic key actions should the international actors focus on for a better implementation of the strategic priority 1 in the DPRK future SDGs plan?
Okay, that's a really good question. Well, in terms of the strategic priority, the main challenge that the DPRK has pretty much goes down to their limited arable land, and as such, the development of research and technology could be highly needed in order to address such limitations. Equally speaking, the modernization of the infrastructure is a key challenge for the DPRK, and it is important to clarify that this does not only include like buildings or schools, which in the long term speaking could actually improve the overall education system and thus technological development of the country. But when we talk about infrastructure, we should also take into consideration, the irrigation system, or even, as I mentioned previously, the country's roads and railroads, which highly impact the transportation of the available food within the country. So I believe that here it would be key not only to build upon what we already have done, or what already has been done by several NGOs such as FAO or WFP in terms of their internal projects and so on, but also to creatively approach the issue and to think outside of the box, pretty much to integrate what we already have with new ideas. And in one of our orientations, we talk about system thinking, which is pretty much an user-centered approach to problem solving, which can be really useful if correctly applied, of course. And it can be used for creating new projects to achieve the development of scientific knowledge or sustainable agriculture or technological improvements within the country, which I feel perfectly aligned with goal number 2 and number 9 under the strategic priority. So that would be something that could be taken into consideration by the delegates during the conference.
Yes, thank you very much. Just to come back a bit about the model UNSF, I have one very important question that I would like to ask you. So to what extent do you consider the added value of the model UNSF to be the realization of a strategic framework?
Oh, well, I believe that the main aim of the conference, besides, of course, creating awareness regarding the DPRK progress, improving the livelihood of its citizens, and all of that, also goes into creating a safe space for individuals to speak and to be heard. And I do believe that projects such as this one can have an impact properly carried. And this conference, with no doubt, will provide a proposal for a new strategic framework that takes into consideration the vision of our generation. It can be impactful, it can be influential, and it can give us a voice. So I do believe that, well, it could have an impact in the new strategic framework for 2022.
Thank you very much, Shirin. I believe that those watching us, and me, especially myself, are very interested in what you're doing in the Model United Nations Strategic Framework Conference. And I have some questions regarding your chairing position. One of the interesting questions I have, it is, what is your chair philosophy?
Well, I think that mainly in a conference of this style, I'm more inclined for a laissez-faire, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not French, sorry, approach to allow the resident coordinator to directly modulate the debate and be a little bit more relaxed to allow the delegates to work and aim for solutions themselves, but yet still be involved enough for them to request any assistance if needed, but taking into consideration yet again the overall model and conference structure, I think it would be better in this case to have a more distant approach and let them discuss within themselves what would be their approach to each area of weakness, or each strategic priority. So yeah, I think that would be my chair philosophy for this conference.
That's wonderful. Also, what do you look for in the best delegate, and how do you think they can become the best delegate during the conference?
Okay, well, I think that besides their oratory skills, being a good communicator is also really important. Well, their written work, meaning their position paper or updated strategic priority, if we talk about the resident coordinator. My main focus relies especially on how well they participate in the progress to create the resolutions and to address specific areas of weakness, because it's really easy to see the big picture and say, okay, we're gonna end hunger. But it's harder to break down the main issue into small targets and to address them, each one of them, in a viable and user-centered way. So I think that I will be looking for the way that they handle themselves during the negotiations, as well as the knowledge that they have in the respective strategic priority and how they apply it for solving a specific issue. So if they take that into consideration, they can become the best delegates, of course.
Thank you very much, Shirin, and thank you for your amazing answer. Would you like to add something that I didn't ask, or if there's something you would like to add that you find worth mentioning and worth people to know about it?
Oh, I think that we have covered more than enough, but if I had to add a special message, would be that I'm really excited to have everyone in this conference, and I'm sure that not only me, but everyone in the organizing committee is looking forward to hearing each one of your amazing ideas.
Thank you very much, Shirin. We have come to the end of this session. Just a small reminder for those who are watching us, you can follow us on the Model UNSF social media platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also the Peace Corps YouTube platform. We are very much looking forward to see everyone, as Shirin said, at the conference. And please follow us for updates on the Model UNSF 2022. Thank you so much, and thank you, Shirin, again.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.